Welcome to the deep dive. We take your sources, unpack them, and pull out the key insights to get you informed fast. Today, we're diving into a book that's, well, it's more than just recipes. It's really a whole approach to life and eating that could genuinely change things up in your kitchen. We're looking at Mario Batali's Molto Gusto, Easy Italian Cooking at Home. So our mission here is basically to give you the highlights, the core ideas from this great book, save you some time. And what makes it stand out? It really focuses on simplicity, seasonal ingredients, the joy of eating together. And maybe surprisingly, there's this sort of underlying pro-planet vibe. It moves beyond just the big, heavy main course. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Mario Batali's view of Italian food, it's not just about techniques, is it? It feels like a whole lifestyle. He's clearly spent a lot of time thinking about how to bring that Italian spirit at the family table, that deep respect for regional food into, American homes.
Exactly. And it's interesting how he defines us, the readers. He calls them like-minded individuals, people who are really looking for food that's delicious, traditional, but also innovative, unique, and geospecific. That's a key term for him.
Geospecific, yeah.
Yeah. He's talking to you, the person who actually enjoys the process, shopping for food, preparing it. Doesn't matter if it's braising, roasting, whatever. You might have some fancy gear, maybe not all of it. But you definitely care about finding great local ingredients. You're the kind of person who gets excited about, like, the first asparagus of the season or waits for local strawberries. You read food magazines. But, and this is important, he says, we are not snobs or elitists. We like simple food.
It's very welcoming, actually.
That really resonates. But what caught me off guard, honestly, was this pro-planet idea you mentioned. It wasn't something I expected from a cookbook like this. It feels quite integrated, not just tacked on. How does he show that in his restaurants? Right. It's presented very matter-of-factly. He talks about his places, like Auto Pizzeria and Oteca. For example, they just stopped selling imported bottled water. Makes sense, right? Thinking about energy use. Almost all his places got green certified. Better lighting, composting, recycling all the plastic and glass, plus buying hormone-free meat and poultry. It's just how they operate.
And that thinking, it leads to something pretty striking when you actually look through the recipes. There's a distinct lack of those traditional big meat or fish main courses, which for a lot of us is kind of what dinner revolves around.
Exactly. And that's rooted in the traditional European, specifically Italian agrarian diet. It was always more about vegetables, grains, pasta, pizza, farro, legumes. Animal protein was, well, more like a flavoring, or for special occasions. The insight here, which I think is powerful, is that this way of eating doesn't just feel lighter on the planet, it feels better in your body too. He talks about achieving a happy passing sense of content and fullness not associated with the consumption of a huge steak or chop. You feel satisfied, not stuffed.
That phrase, happy passing sense of content and fullness not associated with a huge steak, that's really interesting, but it's a big shift for some people. How does the book help you make that mental leap? How does it make it feel like you're gaining something, not losing the centerpiece?
Well, I think it's through the emphasis on simplicity. It's quite striking. So many recipes in Molto Gusto are really short, like less than half a page.
Right.
And that's not just about saving space, it's kind of a statement. Batali's point seems to be that amazing Italian flavor comes from using fantastic ingredients and just adorning them, not from complicated steps. It makes cooking delicious food feel possible every day, not like some huge project.
Takes the pressure off.
Exactly. It's all about pleasure, nourishment, getting energy for, as he puts it, our constantly moving lives and our brains and our laughing and singing and dancing and playing.
Okay, so if we're moving beyond the big main course, what actually ends up on the plate then? What does that look like?
It looks like a fantastic array of smaller, really vibrant dishes. The book heavily features vegetable antipasti. He gets inspiration from farmers markets everywhere, London, Rome, New York, the good ones. And that term geospecificity comes up again. He says it's the single most exciting word in food for him.
So it's more than just eat local.
Oh, yeah. It's about understanding that food tastes like where it's from. It has a story. When he talks about vegetables tasting like the smell of the wind on a rainy day, he's pushing you to find ingredients that have real character, that taste unique because of their origin. It turns simple vegetables into something, well, profound.
And the examples are so appealing because they're simple. Things like radishes with butter dressing, or shaved asparagus with Parmigiano Reggiano, artichokes with grana padano, fregula with corn. What I love is that he points out many can be made ahead, so the flavors meld. It feels designed for, actual life.
Okay, so the vegetable antipasti are a big focus, definitely a shift. But what about other flavors? Cured meats, seafood, they still play a role, even if not as mains, right? Batali seems to have strong opinions here too.
Oh, absolutely. He talks about his family's business, salumi artisan cured meats, and this informs his cured meat ideology. He breaks down prosciutto di Parma, di San Daniele, and praises the American one, La Quercia. But then he gets into the really interesting stuff, like culatelle, highly prized, super specific production.
And you can't easily get it here, right?
Exactly. Import restrictions make it rare in the U.S. as like an insider secret. And mortadella, he calls it a pinnacle of Emilian gastronomy. It's not just lunch meat, it's this incredibly crafted sausage. You can fry it, put it in omelets. Surprisingly versatile. And seafood, given his Seattle background.
Yeah, he loves seafood.
Yeah.
There are cool ideas like preserved tuna cooked slowly in oil, lasts nearly a week, and octopus and celery. He even mentions that old trick of putting a wine cork in the water when cooking octopus to tenderize it. Curious.
The book also has a whole section on bruschetta, calls it the new pizza, which makes sense. It's so versatile. The name brusquer apparently means to cook or roast over hot coals. He gives tips for doing it at home, getting that really deep, dark, golden brown crust.
Yeah, that crust is key. It adds so much flavor and crunch. It's not just a vehicle for toppings.
Right. And speaking of simple things done well, cheese. Italian cheeses are huge. What's his angle here? The variety seems overwhelming sometimes.
It is diverse, and that's his point. It reflects Italy's regional differences, right down to the cheese. Yeah. So beyond the king, Parmigiano Reggiano, he talks about others with great stories. Pecorino di Fossa, that sheep's milk cheese aged in caves. They literally dig it up. Earthy, funky. Or ubriaco, means drunk. It's aged in red wine, gets this weirdly wonderful pineapple scent, shows how tradition creates these amazing, unexpected flavors.
So they're more than just ingredients.
Totally. They're experiences. And he mentions fun condiments too, like apricot mostarda or black truffle honey to go with them.
Okay, antipasti covered, big flavor, small plates. Now let's hit the big ones. Pasta and pizza. Two absolute giants of Italian food. This part of the book really goes for it, arguing for good carbs, yes, good carbs, as an excellent way to enjoy a delicious and filling meal with less protein and fat.
It champions the Italian way. Pasta cooked properly al dente, and importantly, sauced lightly, minimally. The idea is that the toasted wheat flavor of the pasta itself is the dish. You should taste the pasta.
And the quality of the pasta matters. He talks about using dried pasta made with traditional bronze dyes.
Yeah, that's crucial. Those bronze dyes give the pasta a rougher surface. He calls it a cat's tongue texture. It holds the sauce so much better. It's why some pasta just feels and tastes different.
So how do you actually achieve that perfect balance, that light saucing, tasting the pasta?
Well, connecting it back, it's about that simplicity and respecting the ingredients again. The book gives 10 most important pasta cooking tips. Some are quite specific, like the water ratio. 6 quarts of water, 3 tablespoons of kosher salt per pound of pasta. It really matters for the texture.
Okay.
Using cold butter to finish sauces helps them emulsify, become smooth and clingy. Adding fresh herbs or raw tomatoes right at the end for freshness. But the main takeaway, the big principle, is less is always more. The sauce shouldn't drown the pasta. They should work together. Fat and cheese are secondary to water and balance.
And the examples really show this. Like spaghetti alla carbonara, he details this specific technique with the eggs.
Right. Adding the whites to the hot pasta water, then dropping the yolks in a little nest at the end, creates that amazing creamy sauce without cream.
Or that spaghetti con la sarde, sardines, but elevated with fennel fronds, fennel pollen, orange zest. It's about balancing those strong flavors.
Okay, moving on to pizza. The book kind of demystifies it. Acknowledges the whole cult of pizza makers, but offers a home-friendly version. Otto's style is described as a hybrid, thin, like New York style, but really crisp, and you can do it at home with a griddle and your broiler.
What's the key trick then?
Par-baking the crust. You bake the dough for a bit on its own first, then add toppings.
Ah, okay.
It's great for home ovens because it guarantees a crispy bottom crust, stops getting soggy under the sauce and cheese.
And they categorize the pizzas, which is helpful. Classica for the traditional ones, Otto for their own NYC creations, fennel and bottarga pizza, lardo pizza, simple but intense flavors. And then the cute kids pizzas like guanciale and chickpea or cauliflower.
Yeah, but even with kids pizza, the mantra holds. Simpler is better and less is more. And definitely just leave out the kiwis, please.
Yeah, solid advice there. All right, no Italian meal is complete without something sweet, and this book dives deep into gelato.
Yeah, and it explains the difference quite well. Italian gelato generally has less fat than American ice cream. It's also served a bit warmer. That combination gives it that softer texture, more intense flavor, and what he calls a delightful taffy-like mouthfeel.
Taffy-like. Interesting.
And he distinguishes between industrial gelato, the brightly colored stuff piled high, and the artisanal style they make at Otto. They take time infusing the milk, letting the custard base mature overnight. That maturing step is key.
Like letting a stew sit.
Exactly. Flavors deepen, meld, makes for a much richer, more complex gelato.
And there are practical tips for making it at home, too. What are the secrets?
Well, chilling the base really well, ideally overnight, is crucial. It needs to be very cold before churning, otherwise it gets too airy, too fluffy.
Mm.
You want that dense texture. You churn until it's very thick with an almost matte finish. And thinking bigger picture again, especially for sorbetto, using really fresh, perfectly ripe fruit is non-negotiable. That's where the flavor comes from. For sorbettos, it's all about balancing the fruit's water and sugar. He even gives this old school trick, the egg test, to check sugar levels.
The egg test.
Yeah, you float a fresh egg in the base. If just a quarter-sized spot shows above the surface, your sugar's about right. And a little alcohol can act as antifreeze, keeping it scoopable.
They feature some wild flavors, too. Sweet corn gelato, olive oil gelato. He suggests the peppery olive oil for that one. Sounds kind of amazing.
It does. And then there are coppettes. These are like evolved Italian sundaes, not just scoops. Think ricotta cappetta with Meyer lemon curd and roasted figs, or a caramel cappetta with caramelized bananas and a chocolate rosemary sauce. Really creative combinations. And there's this great little section, very honest, called Burn, Baby Burn, the Zen of caramel. It's this vivid story about learning to make caramel properly, not staring at it, catching it at just the right second. It really captures the craft involved, even in something seemingly simple.
So as you can tell, Molto Gusto is much more than a cookbook. It's a real deep dive into Italian food as a philosophy. It connects pleasure, community, and this deep respect for ingredients, often in ways you might not expect, like focusing less on huge protein mains. It challenges how we think about a satisfying meal. We'd really encourage you to check out the book's ideas, the tips, maybe try a simple vegetable antipasto first, or get adventurous with one of those gelato flavors, sweet corn, maybe. It's about opening up to a slightly different way of approaching food.
Yeah, and here's something to think about. How could embracing this whole gusto as a way of life, focusing on smaller plates, big flavors, really following the seasons, less reliance on a big main course, how might that naturally lead to eating in a way that's both more delicious and more sustainable, more pro-planet, without anyone needing to preach about it, just through the choices you make at the market, at the table? Could those small shifts add up to something significant for you and maybe for the bigger picture too?